Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we are going to be taking a look at the best button lock you do not know about. And if you do know about this, then congratulations, I didn't. But what we have here is the Kubey RDF, otherwise known as the Kubey KU316. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this interesting little button lock right here. We have an overall length coming in at 7.32 inches, a blade length coming in at 3.11 inches, and a blade thickness at 120 thousandths. Blade material on this guy is your typical AUS 10, which is what you see on a lot of Kubey budget knives. We have a very unique spear point style blade with a flat grind handle length coming in at 4.21 inches and a handle thickness at 510 thousandths. Handle material on this guy is a G10 and a rather impressive G10. We'll talk more about this when we get to the handle. A button lock locking mechanism and a user of a right or left hand tip up carry. A weight coming in at 3.6 ounces. And this one here is designed by Alessandra DeSantis. Now, if you've not heard of her, she is a very talented female knife designer within the knife community. I have reviewed one or two of her designs before, and I did like those ones. And I gotta say, this one is pretty easily my favorite so far. This one is really good after you spend some time with it. We have a price coming in at 70 bucks, which is pretty much the standard going rate for Kubey budget knives now. I think they've kind of put two firm feet in the ground with that $70 price tag. That's where I see a lot of their budgets coming in at. Now, let's take a look at some size comparisons, see how it compares to some other budget knives and some button locks. Let's bring a couple Kaisers out here on the table. Here we have the new Kaiser Sparrow, as well as a oldie but a really damn goodie, the Kaiser T1. I put this in size comparisons just because I like kicking that blade out, because that has one of the best detents on a budget knife ever. And as you can see, lines up really well with both of these knives. And let's pull out a couple Civivis. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know the Civivi button locks. And this Kubey is right in between something like a Civivi Cogent, as well as a Civivi Altus. Very much in the middle there. And as you can see, it actually measures up really well with the Altus while having a little more sharpened edge than the Altus. So there's your size comparisons. Hope they did what they needed to do. And now let's talk about this very unique blade shape here. I wasn't sure about this blade shape when I first got it. Even when I was first looking at it, you know, Kubey got a hold of me and said, hey, we got a button lock. You want to check it out? And the moment I heard button lock, I was like, well, yeah, of course. And I honestly did not know that Kubey had made many button locks. This is the first, I'm almost positive, this is the first Kubey button lock I have handled. And if I handled one before, it obviously wasn't very impressive because I don't remember it. But this one here, it's got some pretty good things about it. And a lot of it has to do with this blade. You know, the blade, it really does kind of give me some ProTech ATCF vibes here, kind of just in this area. Not so much the blade cutout kind of ruins it, but I definitely see some ProTech ATCF there, which is a fantastic knife. And a blade cutout here that some may be torn on whether it looks good or whether it does not look good. I think it looks pretty good, and I think it works well with the blade, and it's really complemented by this dip up here. And at first that kind of threw me off, but this is a knife you really got to get in hand. You got to carry it for a few days. You got to feel it. Just looking at an ad of it, it may not do much for you, but when you get it in hand, it really does. It does some surprising. Very nice jimping on the spine and a very comfortable spot to put your thumb if you ever have to really choke up and kind of really power through with the tip of this knife. A really good knife to do that with. Edge itself is pretty good, coming in at 22 thousandths. Nothing crazy razor sharp, but pretty good for just about anyone's EDC. Going into the handle, this is a very robust handle. For just G10, this is one of the most solid G10 handles I think I've ever felt. I think a lot of it has to do with just the thickness of each slab of G10, the width, The not so long length, this is a rather shorter handle. I also get another vibe from another ProTech knife, the ProTech Mordax, and it's just in the handle, not the blade at all, but just the handle. I get some Mordax vibes. It's like a thicker Mordax with just some slightly different curvatures, but some of you may see that as well. Let me know if I'm just crazy or if you see it as well. But it's a pretty nice handle. It feels good. There's no hot spots. The blade is just kind of meh for me. It's nothing special, but the screws are recessed. That's pretty nice. Don't really like it saying Hydra design there. No disrespect to Alessandra there, but she's got her maker's mark up here, which is pretty cool. I did, too much branding. Keep it clean. Keep it cleaner. But overall, you got your lanyard area back here for anyone that is into the lanyard holes, and got a nice backspacer. So nice and solid, well supported. This is a button lock that you can use really hard. It passed the spine whack test in flying colors. And as you can see, got a nice lock up there. We'll even do it right here. Sorry, shake the camera, but totally passes the spine whack test. And just a really solid EDC knife in terms of blade and handle. Now, when you get into the action, that's where things get... At first, they weren't good. They got good. Again, like I said, you got to carry this knife because the flipper tab is different for this design, and in terms of the overall action, I definitely had to put a couple drops of lube in it, and I really had to figure out how to use this flipper tab, because if you're a light switcher, this was one that is pretty good. It's not bad as a light switcher, but it's one to where you really, you move the handle a lot. Some flippers, I'm trying to explain this. Sometimes it's really hard to explain the push button aspect of a flipper and the light switch aspect of a flipper, because some light switch flippers are just really just real effortless to where you can just kind of move your finger down and kick it out. This one, I feel more times than not the knife tends to jerk around when you're doing the light switch. And not a bad thing, really not that bad of a thing, but it's not the smoothest light switch flipper in the world. But now when it comes to push buttoning, that's a different story. I really like the push button aspect of this flipper. Very, very fidgety, very easy. The detent on this is not heavy. It's for any other design, any other type of handle, I think the handle plays a lot into the overall feel of this action. But when you're going to push button this, you can literally just push straight in pretty much, and it kicks the blade out very effortlessly. Very, very nice. Really, really enjoyable push button action. Another thing that I wasn't sure if I was going to like was the middle finger flick, because as you can see, the blade cutout, while there's a big hole, it's rather close and deep into the handle, and I wasn't sure how well that was going to be. It's actually really nice. It's really, really enjoyable. At first, you got to get used to it, because you do kind of feel like you're digging your middle finger in there. But once you get comfortable with it, it's very natural. It's very second nature, not hard. If you like middle finger flicking and you do it a lot, you'll easily be able to deploy this blade with the middle finger flick. So very good there. And combined with the push button on the flipper, it's really good. I really do like the action of this knife. Like I said, light switch is nothing super crazy good, but it does work. But the push button is definitely where it's at for the flipper on this. And then, of course, middle finger flick is good. The one part of this action that it takes getting used to and it's still not the best is the closing action. I feel like if the button was just, like a hair taller, just a hair taller, I feel like I have to push just a hair. I have to push down a hair too hard, if that makes sense, because it's a rather strong hold on the button lock. Like when you let go, it's stopping the blade. Now, I have went on record to say before, I kind of like that, but you got to get used to it. You have to really kind of like time your close. This is a knife that's really good to where when you push the button down, a little wrist, just a little wrist. And that doesn't mean it's a bad action. It just means it takes a little wrist. Now, if this was not a button lock and you were deploying it and it was, let's say it was a flipper and you were deploying the blade and you had to really use a lot of wrist to whip it out, then yeah, that's a poor action. But this is more just the tolerances within the button lock. And when you give it that little bit of wrist, it just really helps the blade just smoothly close. And I kind of like doing that. It does a really good job of catching the blade too. You won't have a lot of bouncing when you go to close it. It's not going to bounce out on you a lot, which I find more annoying than anything when it comes to closing action. I really hate a blade that when you go to close it, it hits and bounces back out and doesn't lock. That's the most annoying thing for me when it comes to closing a knife. If you agree with me, let me know, because that really does suck. You don't have that problem with this. If anything, it'll come up a little short because you let go of the button too soon. But like I said, once you get used to it, it really is a smooth, enjoyable action. I actually swung that one too hard. But it is one that I really do enjoy. I'm not going to say it's one of the best button locks of the year, but so far, of all the button locks, it's been the most surprising one to me. And it's one that I really do enjoy. The ergo's on, has a nice unique blade shape, solid handle, pretty good EDC size for a lot of people. A lot of positive things about this. So it is one, if you're looking for a new button lock and, you know, maybe you can't, maybe the Vosti Raccoon's out of stock right now, or maybe you're not sure, you want to try something new. I would definitely recommend considering this one. I'm not disappointed with this one at all. Like I said, takes a little getting used to, but very nice design, good blade, surprisingly good ergos, very comfortable for the thumb on that spine. A lot of good things about this knife. So that's it, guys. That is the Kubey RDF, or Kubey KU316. Let me know what you think of this one. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.